Hey guys, it's Ryan here with HobbiesofaMan once again, and today we're going to be starting a new comic book by the issue. I already have a bunch of these, but you know, what's one more? Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong is going to end soon, so I'll be replacing it with this one here, which is Flash Gordon. And this is the free comic book day issue, or the prelude, or issue number 0, whatever you want to call it. And this is done by Jeremy Adams, with art by Will Conrad, and colors and letters by Lee Luride and Taylor Esposito. And well, all of this is phenomenal. Everyone did a great job with this. There's more credits to be given, but those are the main, components. So that's just what I wrote down. And basically, it's a really interesting Star Wars-esque story, right? I mean, you can kind of argue that Star Wars is like Flash Gordon and not the other way around. But I mean, ultimately at this point, when people think of, grungy or dirty sci-fi, we think of Star Wars, right? That is kind of Star Wars has defined that style, and it's what everyone thinks of as the default, right? So I'm gonna call this a Star Wars-like story, even though it might be incorrect. So sorry if it bothers y'all, but it is more or less that, right? We have the story starting with Flash and his crew, who signal a different group for a train robbery, right? Or, some sort of hijack of a high-speed moving object, right? So they do this, and then while they're having this altercation, apparently Flash Gordon is shot and killed, and he dies, right? And this is a crazy way to start the issue, but I was very interested and invested, so I was quite happy with that. I did not expect them to do the stuff that they did. I thought that the whole point was like, oh, he's gonna die, and we're gonna have to deal with that, right? And that's gonna be the big start of the story, and then somehow at the end it'll come back, right? And I guess that's what happened, but I thought the time frame was gonna be different. So I was pretty surprised with how this arc ended, right? So Gordon is killed, and then we transition over to Emperor Ming, who is basically a Kree or something, like he's a green elf person. And he looks real cool and interesting. And he's basically working on his own version of the Death Star. And he's like, finally, this thing is almost complete. I'll get to destroy Earth and have fun. And, could this day get any better? And then suddenly someone comes in running. It's like, Emperor Ming, Flash Gordon is dead. And he doesn't believe him at first. He's actually kind of incredulous. And I actually thought that he was a bit upset about this because I have no context for any of these characters, right? I don't know anything about Flash Gordon. It turns out that he was just surprised, and then he starts laughing. He's like, oh, yes, there is some way for this day to get better. My nemesis is dead. I have my weapon ready, and it's time to shoot it, right? So he decides to go see Flash Gordon's body before he, moves on. And this was the wrong thing to do. He kind of monologues over Flash Gordon's casket, sort of, for a second, and he mentions his daughter. And as he mentions his daughter, we transition over to the next scene, which is of this woman that looks like Emperor Ming, as in she's the same race as him, kind of under the cover of night or something close to it, loading a specific bullet into a specific rifle, lining up a shot and firing it off, mentioning something about how this bullet is special, and it flies off. And then we get to see that as this is happening, outside of Emperor Ming's castle, there's an assault happening, right? The people that are, Flash Gordon's his friends have decided to storm this castle for Flash and for Mongo. And so the king and the emperor is distracted for a second, which allows this bullet to get in, break into the casket, and, get injected into Flash, which wakes him up and revives him as the emperor is leaving to try to deal with this problem, right? And so now Flash is inside the castle, and he's ready to battle with Emperor Ming, right? And we get a flashback about how this happened. It was quite, enjoyable and easy, and it was a nice bit of exposition about the reveal. But ultimately, I didn't really think it was necessary. Like, a special bullet that wakes him up is pretty basic. You don't really need to explain it all that much, but I'm happy that they did for clarity, right? If it had not been included, I would have probably had a comment about how clarity could have been better, right? So I'm happy that they added it. And then Flash manages to make it into Ming's room as soon as he's about to turn on the machine. And in fact, he actually does turn on his Death Star machine, and Flash Gordon has to, do crazy stuff around this room in order to try to disrupt its functions, which means that he starts cutting pipes down and making, wires and electrical issues occur, right? And as he's doing this, Ming is like, dude, you're going to ruin us all. Don't do that. Let me kill your planet, right? And then Flash manages to stop the machine from working, but in fact, he doesn't get rid of the charge, and so it just actually goes into the planet instead of out of it, right? And so the ending here is bittersweet. It's basically like Flash Gordon saved Earth at the expense of Mongo, right? And we get to see this really cool scene of this planet with like this jagged green energy across it, which seems like it's going to start breaking apart, right? And it's very cool. I really enjoyed this issue. I thought it was great. It was very fun. I don't really have too much context for Flash Gordon. I've never seen it or read anything. But I really liked it. I thought it was really easy to follow. It had a really nice pulp adventure feel to it, very similar to, the original Star Wars movies, obviously. And I really enjoyed it. So I had a lot of fun with it. I'm very happy with it. And beyond this, there's some interesting stuff here because we get a schedule about how the Flash Gordon series is going to start releasing, right? So this is the start of the series, but the actual proper issue 1 starts out in July. I've pre-ordered it already. I'm very excited about it. It takes a break in August so that a new series starts. This would be the Defenders of Earth. And then it continues on until December, and that's when issue 5 comes out. I don't know if that's the end of this arc or if it's going to continue beyond that. I'm not really sure. But beyond the Defenders of the Earth thing, so first they're going to release a trade paperback of the original series, and then they're going to start a new series, which apparently is like about 4 issues long, it seems like. And then there's going to be another series called Flash Gordon Quarterly, which is going to launch in September. Now, as far as I understand it, that's probably going to be a short story collection, anthology, and hopefully it's a magazine. I really hope it's a magazine because it'd be really cool to have a sword and sorcery magazine in the form of Conan, a detective / horny stuff magazine with Penthouse, and then a really cool sci-fi fantasy or sci-fantasy type magazine with Flash Gordon, right? I would get kind of like everything I want out of comic books with those 3 magazines going in tandem, right? So I would really like to see that be a magazine format, but I'm not really sure that that's the case, right? It might be like a reprinting of strips or something. I'm not really sure. I really didn't have any information, right? So yeah. However, I'm curious if this is a good strategy. I'm not really sure that Flash Gordon is the most popular character nowadays. I don't necessarily think that there's going to be a resurgence in popularity for Flash Gordon like there was for Conan when Titan launched the series again. I'm not really sure that that's like in the wheelhouse of the modern comic book audiences, right? I'm not really sure that they're that interested. I am, but it's not necessarily because I'm interested in Flash Gordon. I'm interested in Star Wars. And Flash Gordon is the direct inspiration for Star Wars, right? In the same way that John Carter of Mars is direct inspiration for Flash Gordon and stuff. Like, I like this lineage of sci-fantasy, right? Of sword and sandal stories and planetary romance. Like, I really like this concept, and so that's why I'm following the Flash Gordon story. It's not necessarily because I like Flash Gordon or the characters that are associated with him, right? So I feel like many people are probably in the same boat as I, and if that's the case, I'm not necessarily sure that this will be a very popular or successful series, right? So I think that Massive or Mad Cave or whoever's publishing this is probably kind of having a bit of a gamble here, right? But I might be underestimating the sheer fandom around Flash Gordon, right? So I don't know. Let me know what you thought about that down below. Do you think that there's going to be a lot of people clamoring for the series or not? Let me know down in the comments. And thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys later.